Hamazor, Hama Shobad, everybody. Welcome to everyone around the world, and thank you very much for joining us today to Bahuma, which means with good thoughts. With a profound and constant love for Aura Mazda and the great teacher, Asho Zarathustra, whose teachings are timeless, time-tested, and applicable to all situations to give us strength, knowledge, and the ability to form a fellowship based on knowledge and togetherness, oneness with everyone. Welcome to the flame of fellowship of collective consciousness, Bahuma. With gratitude to all those who help us share the message of Asho Zarathustra, Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Worldwide Zoroastrians, everybody, and also to our core team, tech team, and advisors, and our young fellowship ambassadors. We welcome you today to a program related to good thoughts and prayers with good action to understand Frashokereti, progressing together, based on the prayers related to this, the Afringan Farokshi and other prayers. Our previous session, where we've celebrated Asho Zarathustra's birthday, Khordad Sal, is available with its recording on Zoroastrians.net. The principles of Bahuma are to conserve and share the knowledge, prayers, principles, and the practice of the Zarathushti Daina, to honor our priests and our knowledgeable elders who help us to understand this deep knowledge, to bridge the communication between the elders and the youth so that there can be empowerment with knowledge and leadership for the good of all, so that with good thoughts, we can grow fellowship and build world peace, happiness, and prosperity for all. My gratitude to my grandfather, Ervad Sahib Noshirvanji Pestonji Pantaki, his father, Ervad Pestonji Noshirvanji Pantaki, the late Pantaki of the Sir J.J. Agyari in Pune, my guiding light, Mobed Meherban Firozgari, our guiding friend, Beheshti Mobed Soli P. Dastur, my mentor and facilitator, Meher Amal Sad Sahib, for support to Mr. Naushir Dadrawala, support and technology to Mr. Yazdi Tatra. For inspiration, I'm grateful to Mr. Rohinton Munshi. My gratitude to the Zoroastrian Trust Funds of Europe for giving me the oyster within which to grow, including Mr. Debu, Mr. Dalal, our respected Mobad Sahibs, Bhada, Madon, whom we have with us today, Unwala, Writer, Bedwar, and Bajifdar. And I'm also grateful to Mr. Darius Potal and the family of Mr. Firoz and Mrs. Kerman Munshi, and to all Ashavans, including my own parents, the parents of all of you, and all the people around the world. Before I come to introducing our speakers, I would like to request Ervat Sahib Ramiyar Karanjia for a short Hambandagi, please, to start us off with. Ramiyar Sahib, you're still muted. Please unmute.
Okay. Yatha huvairyo atharatu shasharchi thachao Vange ush dasda manango shauthanana mange ush mazdai Shatrem cha aurai au Indre gubyo dadatwastarem Yatha huvairyo atharatu shasharchi thachao Vange ush dasda manango shauthanana mange ush mazdai Shatrem cha aurai a Imdregubyo dadat vastarem Ashem vahu vahishtem asti Ushta asti ushta ammai Yat ashai vahishtai Ashem Tandarosti Yazdan Panabad.
Thank you very much, Ervat Sahib Ramiyar Karanjia. It's a very, very special day today, being Teachers' Day celebrated in India. And we have my teacher, the teachers of all teachers around the world, Ervat Saib Ramiyar Karanjia. Thank you very much. The flow for today will be the introductions to each speaker. These speakers are requested to delve into the details of the concepts of the prayers and their significance based on the concept of homata, followed by lines and words from the prayers, therefore hukta, the actual words, and then the speaker's own interpretation and how they have taken inspiration from these prayers, varshta. We will then open the floor to specific questions addressed to individual speakers, for which I request you to raise your hand. You can speak for yourself or you can put it into the chat box. And then we will open the floor to the Bahuman sharing section. Again, raise your hand, please, so that Yazdi can identify you. Our speakers for the day are Ervat Sahib Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia, Ervad Jimmy Madon, Mr. Ashkan Khosrapur, and Mr. Firoz Pestonji. My gratitude to Mr. Meher Amal Saad, my kind mentor and the facilitator of Bahumata, for arranging all the speakers, writing the biographies, and putting us all together in this fellowship. Thank you very much, so that we can have these great talks related to good thoughts and prayers with good action. Let us now look at work done through the times by Ervad Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia. Ervad Karanjia is a very, very special person. We all know that. When we look at what he has done, it is simply something to put us in awe. He has created the wonderful resource for living Zoroastrianism, which encompasses the essence of our Zarathushtri religion, traditions, customs, history, prayers, and spirituality. Erva Dr. Ramiyar Parvez Karanjia has a PhD in Avastha Pelvi, and at present he is serving as the principal of the Dadar Athornan Institute of India. He obtained his master's and his doctorate in Avastha Pelvi from the Bombay University. He was a postdoctoral research scholar at the universities of Uppsala in Sweden, Heidelberg in Germany, and in Zurich. He was a winner of 2 gold and 1 silver medal, and the top ranker in the university. He's the principal of the Dadar Athornan Madrasa since 1995, and is also principal of the Sir JJZ and the Mullah Firoz Institutes of Indo-Iranian Studies since 1999. He's a lecturer in Iranian languages at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, and at the other above institutes since 1985. He has authored, co-authored, translated, and edited several books, and also contributed papers to journals and entries to Iranica and Springer Encyclopedia. He's also a regular columnist with the Jame Jamshed Weekly and contributes to other community papers and magazines as well. He's an author of more than 15 books and regularly conducts courses and seminars and gives presentations and talks on the Zoroastrian religion, spirituality, and the Iranian languages and history. His students span the age group from the ages of 5 to 80, for which we are very grateful. He's the founder director of the Ahunavar Academy, which he started in May 2005 to disseminate knowledge, conduct research, and runs courses in other religion, spirituality, and languages. Now, as the director of the annual structured courses in Zoroastrianism in Mumbai, he has contributed a lot to the religion, to the people, and the fellowship around the world. He was awarded the Wenner Gren Foundation Fellowship to pursue his postdoctoral research at the Uppsala University in Sweden during October-December 1999. He was also invited by the Heidelberg University, Germany, from April to June 2002, and then in August 2003 to participate in a seminar and then work with a team of international scholars on a project on Zoroastrian rituals. In November 2002, he was invited by the Alliance of Religions and Conservation, the ARC, to present the worldwide work of ARC, followed by an invitation for dinner at the Buckingham Palace as a guest of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II and His Royal Highness Prince Philip. Ervat Sahib Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia is a resource person on pilgrimages to Iran. He gives talks on religion and Iranian history to children, youth, and adults since 1985 all over India, and also in places like Canada, London, Dubai, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, and Michigan. He conducts moral education classes for children in Dadar since 1982. He has written, edited, and worked on the following books. Serialized stories from the Iran epic Shahnameh Peshdad in October 1996, the Iranian epic Shahnameh in a serialized stories, Kayan. His other works include outlines of Parsi history, the Zoroastrian religion and ancient Iranian art in March 1999, a treasury of Zoroastrian quotations and wisdom from a lifetime in 2005, and he's contributed to papers in magazines and journals on a range of subjects like youth education, Indo-Iranian languages, religious education, Zoroastrian religion, and Iranian history. Ervat Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia has presented papers at several national and international conferences, seminars, and conventions, like the 1993 Parliament of the World's Religions at Chicago, and then in 1993, the first World Zoroastrian Youth Congresses at Los Angeles, California. Then in 1997, the second World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in the United Kingdom. Then 2007, the fourth World Zoroastrian Congress in Australia. And he's invited to contribute entries to the Encyclopedia Iranica. He has delivered the annual Redbridge Sacre Literature in London. This is a very special thing because it is for education of the children, and presented papers at international Oriental Congresses in Mumbai in 1995, 2000, 2004, the ARC conventions in Kathmandu in 2000 and London in 2002, the Convention of the Zarathustri World Leaders in Mumbai in 2003, and the 8th World Zoroastrian Congress at London in 2005. And since 2004, he's annually invited by the Charity Fund of Spiritual Culture to Moscow and other places in Russia, and also other CIS countries to conduct seminars on Avesta and spiritual traditions. On his website, which I will put now in the chat box, Ervat Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia offers information about the Zoroastrian religion, Iranian history, languages, and spirituality for all age groups, and it is really understandable by all. And on top of that, he's also one of the wise advisors for our Bahuma program. With that sentiment of gratitude, profound gratitude for one of the greatest teachers I have ever known. As Asho Zarathustra said, he really follows this. As one friend to another, Asho Zarathustra said to Aura Mazda to please teach him. Ervat Sahib Ramiyar is a friend to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Zarathustri welcome to our very own dedicated, committed, and most respected Ervat Sahib Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia from India.
Thank you very much, Karishma. I thought the whole 2 hours you will just use in introducing me, and people may not get a chance to speak. Thank you for that long introduction. I'm really humbled and wish you all a very good day. I am grateful to Team Bahumata for inviting me today as one of the speakers for the theme Frashokereti, progressing together, with reference to prayers like the Afringan and Farokshi. Progress is a basic teaching of Zoroastrian religion, which comes out in 2 main concepts of our religion, Fravashi and Frashokereti. Zoroastrianism promises Frashokereti, the ultimate triumph of good over evil at the end of time, when all souls, after passing through the final judgment, will experience restakhez, that is, be raised as spiritually alive beings in a blissful state, followed by the Tane Pasen, that is the future body, which the soul will adorn from then onwards. This event of renovation is known as Frashokereti in Avesta and Frashogard in later Iranian languages. After Frashokereti, the physical world will cease to exist. However, it will not be completely destroyed. All that is there in the material world will be transmuted to a spiritual form. From now on, all creations will be radiant, fresh, youthful, and deathless. Evil will be completely destroyed, and the holy creations will become immortal. So, if you just think on the word Frashokereti, the English word fresh will come to mind immediately, making fresh. So, actually, Frashokereti is that, making the whole world fresh. After Frashokereti, since everything will be spiritual, there will be no decay, destruction, pain, hunger, or want. And hereafter, it will continue to remain an all good existence. In the Zamyad it is stated that the Kayan Khore, along with other different types of Khorena, that is divine energies, will help bring about Frashokereti. So, Aura Mazda wants humankind, human beings, to work towards Frashokereti, and he has given them different type of energies which they can work on and bring the world towards Frashokereti. The concept of Frashokereti has also been reflected in other Abrahamic religions. For example, the concept of resurrection among the Christians and the idea of Qayamat among the Muslims. However, apart from religions, the fundamental idea of Frashokereti can also be seen in the work of the great poet laureate Alfred Lord Tennyson. In the epilogue of his poem In Memoriam, he echoes our idea of Frashokereti when he states, and I quote, that God which ever lives and loves, one God, one law, one element, and one far off divine event to which the whole creation moves. Now, how much more relevant can a person be? Because this one far off divine event that Tennyson is mentioning over here is very clearly Frashokereti, and towards which the whole creation moves. So that is also very much a Zoroastrian concept, because there will not be an individual Frashokereti, there will be a group collective Frashokereti. All the creations will have to undergo this stage together. So that's why Tennyson is mentioning to which the whole creation moves. And now this idea brings us to examine the concept of Frashokereti in the light of the idea of salvation. Salvation roughly means the final emancipation of the soul. The concept of Frashokereti, as I just now mentioned, is a collective salvation, and hence it is very different from the Indian idea of nirvana, which is an individual attainment. So Zoroastrianism always believes in taking people together and not doing anything individual as far as Frashokereti is concerned. In Vedic tradition, salvation is an individual concept, and thereafter there is a collective merging of souls in the Paramatma. In the Iranian tradition, salvation, that is Frashokereti, is a collective concept, and thereafter there is an individual existence of souls. So in the Zoroastrian concepts, the souls do not merge at that time of Frashokereti and afterwards. Each soul will be individual. It will maintain its individuality and will not merge with the Godhead or with other souls. Similar to this concept of Frashokereti is the word Fraspayokhedram. The concept of Frashokereti is best exemplified in the word Fraspayokhedram, which occurs in the Jasame Avange Mazda prayer, which we Zoroastrians recite during the Kasti. The word Fraspayokhedram, now once again see the word Fra. Fra means taking ahead, taking forward. It comes in the word Fravashi, it comes in the word Frashokereti, and it again comes in the word Fraspayokhedram. The word Fraspayokhedram means progress through unity. The spirit of this word is very closely related to Frashokereti. The word is derived from fra, that is forward, with the root spa, to remove, and yokhedra, meaning strife or discord. Thus, literally, the word fraspayokhedra means moving forward by removing discord. It is one of the teachings of the Mazdeyasni religion, fraspayokhedram nidasne tishem khetwaratam and ashoni. Every good that we do, the smallest of good thought, the shortest of good word, the minutest of good deed, takes us, not only us, but the whole existence towards Frashokereti, one we inch or centimeter by centimeter, but every day we are progressing towards Frashokereti. Now, another part of our presentation today is the interconnection between rituals like Afringan, Farokshi, and Frashokereti. Each Zoroastrian ritual is an expression of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The intention to perform a ritual is the good thought. The prayer recited in the ritual are the good words, and the performance of the ritual and the benefits that accrue are the good deeds. So thus, when we perform a ritual, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds are automatically assimilated in it. Rituals strengthen the good forces in the universe in several ways. The rituals of Afringan and Farokshi are to remember the dear departed ones. They are for the souls and the Fravashis. Even the term Fravashi, as I just now mentioned, literally means moving forward, obviously towards Frashokereti. These rituals are for the benefit of the living as well as the departed. Now, let us see how the ritual constitute Humata, Hukta, and Varshta. In the Afringan and Farokshi prayers, as also in the Jashan, we have all witnessed that the Mobet Sahib arranges 8 flowers. This happens in the Afringan ritual, in the Jashan ritual, and even in the Farokshi ritual. 8 flowers are symbolic of Fravashi. The number 8 is symbolic of Fravashi. And they are a depiction of the movement of creation towards perfection and Frashokereti. From a cosmological viewpoint, the Fravashis guide and lead mankind towards Frashogar. The 8 flowers depict the 7 Ameshaspans and Prophet Zarathustra, with whose help we humans move towards perfection, Frashokereti. The flower arrangement depicts the coming of our souls to the corporeal world, moving towards perfection with the ethical and the spiritual help of the 8 divine ones, and then finally living the corporeal frame much better and more evolved. The Afringan ritual is to seek the blessings of the Fravoshis and the souls. The very word Afrin in Afringan means blessings. And of course, when a Mobed Sahib recites the Afringan ritual, there are special Pazan prayers called Afrins, which are also prayers for blessings. So the Afringan ritual is to seek the blessings of the Fravoshi and the souls. The Farokshi ritual is exclusively devoted to the remembrance of Fravoshis and their invocation. Right from the first Sosyan Gayomar to the last Sosyan Astavat Ereta. So that's what the Mobed Sahib says when he's saying the prayer. As Gayomar Anda Sosyos Aider Yadbar. I remember over here all the Sosyans, all the benefactors of mankind from the first to the last. To conclude, Frashokereti is an integral part of the Zoroastrian belief system. It keeps reminding us about our purpose in life and the final aim and goal of life. We have to keep in mind the ethics, principles, practices, and rituals of the religion to attain Frashokereti. Thank you very much. Atha Jamyad Yatha Afrinam.
Thank you very much, Ervad Sahib Ramiyar Karanjia, for that profound and at the same time easy to understand and appreciate explanation. As always.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we have just had the Fravardigan Jashans around the world 2 days ago, it is most appropriate that we all not just understand, but imbibe everything Ramiyar Sahib has said. And at this moment, I'd like to give gratitude to all the priests, all the associations, the various Atash Bairams, Agyaris, their whole teams that have made possible during this very difficult period, setting out everything in a way that allows people to come together for this very, very important Farvardin Mahino ne Farvardin Ma Rojno Jashans that we've just had, which has helped bring us together, strengthen us, and take courage. Naman to all of you around the world. Today being Teachers' Day, it is appropriate that we have many students of Ervad Sahib Ramiyar Karanjia also with us. We also have a father-son team, Ervad Sahib Khosrapur in the audience, and Ervad Sahib Jimmy Khosrapur, our next speaker. And I salute this concept of the father-son or parent-child relationship of teaching that is part of the oral tradition in the Zarathushti Daina. So this concept of the conscience that is imbibed into us, probably from before we are born. Thank you to all our teachers today and all our parents. Ervad Sahib Jimmy Madon is a very special teacher, a very balanced person, an inspiring person. I will now read out the introduction that has been given by Baba Meher. Thank you, Baba. He's an ordained priest since the age of 12 and has carried out liturgical ceremonies for the Zoroastrian community worldwide. Ervad Jimmy Khosrapur was born and raised in Mumbai in India and relocated to the United Kingdom to pursue his quest for higher education. Ervad Jimmy graduated with a first-class honors degree in computing from the University of East London, with a BSc in computing from the University of East London and a master's in software engineering from the University of Oxford. He follows his passion working as a software engineer and has been doing so for the last decade. He has over 10 years of experience in every step of the software development life cycle, specializing in object-oriented programming using PHP. He has led and transformed small software companies to standardize their processes and help them save thousands of pounds by embracing agile engineering methods. His passion for software engineering extends beyond his work desk as he continues to offer part-time lectures in software engineering on a part-time basis to undergraduate and postgraduate students at the EM Normandy Business School in Oxford and at other universities in the United Kingdom. Erva Jimmy Madon is also the youth coordinator of the World Zoroastrian Organization and the ex-secretary for the Young Zoroastrians of the UK at the Zoroastrian Trust Funds of Europe Youth Group. He continues to engage with the Zoroastrian community in the United Kingdom. He has also been a volunteer teacher at the religious educational classes in London for children and parents for over 10 years. I've attended one of his classes, and he actually makes learning a joyful event. He believes that Zoroastrianism or one's religion should be a practical way of life, and has presented this topic at the 6th and the 7th World Zoroastrian Youth Congresses in Auckland, New Zealand, and in Los Angeles in the United States of America, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this very special, enterprising, and inspiring young Mobed, who is truly making a remarkable difference in our community, society, and as he serves humanity. Ervat Sahib Jimmy Madon.
Thank you for such a sweet introduction, Karishma. Thank you once again for having me. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Brilliant. So as you might have seen from my introduction, I'm mainly a software engineer, and by no means am I a religious scholar. And that's how I kind of begin some of these talks, which I generally give to the youth of the community. But I can see that I'm sharing the stage today with my own teacher as well, Ramiyar Karanjia, who's a scholar, an absolute amazing Zoroastrian scholar. There are a few other people in the audience like Dina McIntyre, etc. So my apologies if I get anything wrong anywhere, but I'll do my best, and I've checked my facts as I generally do. So just very quickly, before I go into the Afringan prayers that I will be shedding some light on today, I just wanted to let you all understand why a software engineer like me still is fascinated by Zoroastrianism, and why would he be speaking on these topics. So I was 12 years old and sitting in my school in Mumbai at the Behramji Jijibai Parsi Charitable Institution. And one of the Zoroastrian studies classes that I was taking at that time, the professor, Firoz Gazdar, said this quote while teaching my favorite topic of Persian history. Can everyone see my screen? Brilliant. So this quote at the age of 12 suddenly made me realize that there was a remarkable kind of connection between warfare and speaking the truth. And it made me realize that the ancient Persians actually practiced the principles of Zoroastrianism in their day-to-day life. And there are a few other proverbs by this Greek historian Herodotus, who goes on to say that the Persians, again, lived Zoroastrian values, which was to not tell a lie, to owe a debt, etc. And these are the kind of qualities that suddenly made me realize, again, there's one more quick quote on saving the environment. I hope you all can see these quotes. So this is when I suddenly realized that Zoroastrianism is not just merely me wearing a topi, speaking Gujarati, and then eating or enjoying my dhansak with kachubar. That is when I realized that this is actually a way of life. It's a philosophy. And that's when I realized that there should be some kind of meaning or connection between our prayers and the actual philosophy of Zarathustra. And when I started on this quest at that age, I was not disappointed. So today I would like to shed a few good kind of FAQs, a few good meanings of the connections between some of these meanings in the Afringan ceremony. And it's obviously a very popular ceremony, which I'm sure most of you must have witnessed several times in your life. So quickly before I go on to that, it was these quotes of Herodotus that made me realize that the same guiding principles of this Bahumata webinar that we are currently in, which is mainly that the vibrations of our ancient prayers already invoke benevolent responses in our surroundings, but it is the meaning within them which we should try to learn and, more importantly, apply to our day-to-day life. So let's uncover a few facts and meanings of the Afringan ceremony. So what constitutes an Afringan ceremony? Well, the most important part of the Afringan is obviously the Malido. Now, I'm just joking over here. That was definitely my favorite part of the ceremony, which is the sweet meal prepared for the ceremony. And growing up, there were three things that fascinated me most when attending the Jashan or the Afringan prayers. One is already on your screens now. The second was putting loban on the fire and seeing the flame rise up. And I was slightly less fascinated when one day I exaggerated by putting too much loban and the flame touched my fingers. And then since then, my dad had to always keep the flame low or not have the flame when I was putting loban as a little child after the Jashan ceremony. And lastly, I used to love pretending to be my dad and hitting the chipio or the tongs that are in the ceremony on all the various metallic items, making that little metallic sound that the priest makes during the ceremony. And even though sometimes I did not understand all of these little rituals, it still served what I again say is one of the reasons why we perform rituals. So this little anecdote of mine taught me why we perform rituals. And we as humans generally find it very hard to understand all the abstract qualities mentioned in our prayers, such as truth, righteousness, wisdom, perfection, everlasting peace and happiness, etc. And all these principles are generally can be associated with physical objects. And suddenly, humans find it easier to associate these if we can identify them with our five senses. So it's always easier to remember and understand these kind of abstract qualities which are mentioned in our prayers. So that's another good reason why rituals are important. So the power of a Jashan or an Afringan increases when we can hear the vibrations of the prayers, understand those prayers, see the righteous fire, the perfect water, the strong metals, the evergreen flowers, smell the loban, and make correlations of the meanings that they stand for and actually apply them in our day-to-day life. So that was just my little very short introduction. And now let's go straight into the Afringan itself. The Afringan, the word again over here means a blessing, right? So that's the general meaning of the term. Now, when we say the Afringan ritual prayers, we say we want to invoke blessings on all the living participants of the ceremony. And the word Afringan can be used in three different ways, or there are three connotations, more or less. And one is the entire multi-part Afringan ritual ceremony. So when you generally pray for your dear departed ones during the Muqtad or the Gatha days, and the priest says, I'm going to do your Afringan or Afringan, it means he's going to say a collection of prayers. And those collection of prayers together, signifying the entire ritual, is termed as Afringan. Sometimes, well, the next connotation of the word is the actual individual parts of the Afringan prayers themselves called Afringan. So they are the prayers themselves within that constitute the larger full ritual. And finally, there is this term that we've then eventually given to our Afrgani or the fire urn. And sometimes we kind of call the Afrgani or the fire urn as this word as well. It's a very crude way of saying this. So that's all the three connotations that Joseph Peterson clearly says, and I can completely relate to that. So what then seriously comprises of the Afringan prayers? Well, this is like, I'm going to do a little bit of a FAQ style presentation. So you'll be able to kind of understand why we do certain things and how we do them as priests and as Baidins or as laymen. So before any ceremony, the three prayers on the screen are the general preliminary prayers that we perform before any ceremony. If anyone was to perform anything or maybe start their session of daily prayers, these are the 3 prayers that we perform. Very quickly, the Kasti, we all know. The Sarosh Baj is a prayer dedicated to Sarosh Yazid, and Sarosh Yazid technically translates to the spirit of intelligence. And it can be our own conscience, the thing within that keeps us on the right path, the thing within that says, don't do that, that's wrong. So that's, in a way, my understanding of Sarosh. And thereby Sarosh Yazid, in a way, protects me, because my conscience protects me from doing anything stupid and thereby bringing any harm upon me. I hope that makes sense. And then we have the larger gay prayer. And I won't go into the details of all these prayers because of the lack of time, but I'll try to touch upon as many things as I can. So the gay prayer, again, is just a prayer dedicated to the time of the day. There are 5 different periods in the day, but again, I won't go into too much details. Then, especially for an Afrinagan, we would recite the Atashni Niyash, which is the litany to the fire. A litany is a prayer in praise of something. And the Atash Niyash, the Niyash word means litany. We praise the fire for all the good properties that it exhibits. And coming from very mountainous cold regions, the Aryans revered fire in a way because it provided warmth and was used for various purposes, which we are easily now replacing with microwaves and ovens in our homes. But of course, if you were living back in the day, you would realize the importance of plain fire itself. But the fire in the Atashni Niyash actually stands for energy as a whole as well. Then we recite the Dua Nam Satayeshne, which is a prayer that praises the name of Ahura Mazda. Now, that was a preliminary section. Then, if you have witnessed a Jashan or an Afrinagan ceremony, you will suddenly hear all the priests going quiet and only the main lead priest reciting prayers out loudly. And he is reciting an introduction, a preface. He is welcoming you all to the ceremony, and he is giving you an introduction to the ritual that is going to be performed. And this prayer is in Pazin, and I will go through a few good paragraphs of this prayer very shortly. And then we actually begin the main ceremony by reciting one or more of these Afrinagans or blessings. A blessing can be dedicated to any entity, like a Yazid or an Ameshaspan, and depending on the type of Afrinagan or Jashan that you are doing, you will change or swap some of these Afrinagans or blessings. So if you are doing a Khushali Nujashan to celebrate your wedding, your Navjot, or your birthday, an anniversary, graduation, etc., you will recite the Afrinagan of Dada Ahura Mazda, praising wisdom and praising our Creator himself. If you were to do an Afrinagan for a new house or a new property or a new location or a factory, then sometimes the priest will recite the Afrinagan dedicated to Asfan Dharma Ameshaspan, the Ameshaspan in charge of the earth, of the new land that you purchased, and you hope that that new land is fruitful. Sometimes before graduation, I might swap in the Afrinagan to Behram Yazid because Behram Yazid stands for victory. So before exams or something like that, you would do anytime you need success, you go for victory. I know I'm running short of time, so I might have to cut short these little bits. So, and then we have the Afrinagans, which are dedicated to all the righteous souls of the past and the righteous Fravoshis of the past. Ramiyar Sahib has already given us a wonderful introduction to the Fravoshi in a way when he was teaching us the concept of Frashokereti. And if you are now remembering any of your near and dear departed ones, this is the Afrinagan that will be recited. So generally, the first Afrinagan would be one of these 4 in today's times. Back in the day, in my dad's times, before then, there were a lot more Afrinagans that would have been replaced with this, but nowadays, this is the standard-ish version. And then we recite 2 more Afrinagans generally, and they are for Dhamman and Sarosh. And Sarosh, again, like I said, is our conscience, the spirit of intelligence, the Yazata of prayer. And Dhamman signifies the Yazata of the day. So every day of the Zoroastrian calendar has a good moral quality, and we pray to that quality that we may imbibe that quality of that day. This is again very simply put. Of course, there is a lot more detail to this. And then, of course, there are several other Afrinagans. So back in the day, a Jashan could last for hours. But today, a standard Jashan ceremony would have 3 or 2 Afrinagans. So sometimes when people tell me, oh, can you actually say only a half an hour of prayers because, I don't know, I have food coming early or I don't have time or people are getting bored or whatsoever, I might actually end up just reciting 1 or 2 Afrinagans in the ceremony. And that still actually means it's a full prayer. So this connotation that people have with a ceremony and time can be actually cut if you understand what the ceremony constitutes, right? So it's still a full Jashan ceremony, technically, if you do just 1 Afrinagan, for example. It might be debatable, but that is my understanding of it. And then Ramiyar Sahib also said that we recite Afrins or prayers in praise of various things. And we praise all the various people of the past. There is like a Tandarasti prayer where we say that just as all these righteous people of the past existed, may we imbibe their righteous qualities from them. So may we imbibe the wisdom of this person, the justice, the quality of justice from this person, strength from this one, etc. And again, all of these Afrins over here are in Pazind, slightly modern, and make references to the Shahnameh, the Peshdarian and the Kayanian dynasties, and all the lovely stories if you were fortunate enough to hear those. And then finally, if it was a Jashan ceremony, you would add the Dua Tandarasti, which does not really require introduction. It's a prayer for the health and well-being of the body. So loosely put, the Afrinagan ceremony in today's times in an Agyari, if you go, you would constitute of these prayers. And if you append the Atishni, the Dua Nam Satayashni, and the Dua Tandarasti before and after, likewise, as shown on the screen, it becomes a Jashan ceremony. So now you know that Jashan and Afrinagan is more or less the same ceremony with a few prayers appended, right? So these were a few because I was supposed to go through some of the meanings. These are some of the lovely meanings that are recited in Pazind by the lead priest. And he recites loudly, saying, in the name of God, the forgiving, the merciful, the loving, Bakshayande Bakshayasgar Meherban. Yathahuverio will be repeated X number of times, and Ashimbo will be repeated 3 times always. Now, this is a little thing whereby if you count the number of Yathahuverios after the lead priest finishes his loud prayer, the priest will start immediately reciting Yathahuverios. You will know which of these blessings he is performing. So for Dada Aura Mazda's blessing, you would perform 10 Yathahuverios. For another Yazata, it would be 7. For Arda Fravash, it would be 8. And the other day, someone came to me and said, oh, why did you pray 8 Yathahuverios? Generally, I've always heard 10. And I was like, oh, wow, you actually paid attention to this rather than thinking about the snacks after the Jashan. So it's amazing how you can find these little FAQs and you can find what the priests are doing to connect better with the ceremony. So anyways, then the priest goes on to say that we glorify Ahura Mazda and all the Amesha Spenters, or the good moral qualities. May whoever's name of the, so if the Afrinagan is dedicated to Hormuzd, we would insert the name of Ahura Mazda. So you will hear the priest recite Ahura Inshnumaine Dada Ahura Mazda Khodai Beresad. Or Sarosh Ashota Gitan Farman would mean he's reciting an Afrinagan dedicated to Sarosh Yazid. So if you hear the name of the Yazata in this prayer, that is the Yazata whose blessing we are dedicating it to. And finally, there are some beautiful phrases which appear, which I would love to take inspiration from. We say, may our desire and hope be accomplished, especially among all the living inhabitants in London, Mumbai, Los Angeles, wherever the ceremony is being performed. And that's obviously the word that everyone hears in the ceremony because they know their city's name is going to be mentioned. So this is the context in which our city is mentioned. In this case, another time the city is mentioned is in one of the Afrins, where we say, just as we prospered in Iran, may we also prosper in the city of Mumbai or of London, so on and so forth. And as you can see, there are some qualities which we should all strive to obtain, and our religion is definitely one of joy, victory, blessings, and happiness. And then I can go on and on with these. But again, some of these things that give me inspiration are these things where we say, may there be protection for the giver of righteousness, and may inhumanity and perversity be kept far away from us. Now, the late Ervet Solidastur was definitely a noble soul to have compiled all of these things for my generation of priests and for me. So avasta.org is a excellent resource, and I would ask you all to probably go through those prayers, and the references are on this slide. Of course, it is an amazing thing if you were to just read through the English translation of the entire Afringan collection of prayers. In fact, I would urge all priests to actually do what Ervet Solidastur did, which is to have a running translation in parallel on a little screen during the Jashan ceremony. So rather than twiddling thumbs, people can actually end up going through those translations. So I can understand that I may have overstepped my 5 minutes over here. I wouldn't go into the details of each single Afringan prayer, but this is more or less the gist of the Afringan collection of prayers and some of their meanings. So just very quickly, we touched on the meanings, but there are also the physical objects in the ritual which we can connect with. And there's this famous flower ritual that has many different versions, and I'm not always sure which version is the right one, but the one that I've always believed in and found from the Zoroastrian ceremonial prayers book is where the priest does this little flower ritual. And I'm not sure if you've actually seen the priest putting the flowers in a particular order and picking them up in a particular order, just as Ramiyar Karanjia explained. So the first two flowers put now, this is my second version in a way for today, which is signifying the spiritual world and the material world that we live in. So the Geti and the Minoi, the two loops of the Kasti. And this kind of teaches us that whatever is on the material world is in a way temporal. So all the happiness and pain that you feel is temporal, it will pass. Whereas the spiritual world is something where what we aim to, again, that concept of everlasting happiness, Frashokereti. Then we kind of trace the journey of the soul. We put the flowers in the order from top to bottom, and then pick them up bottom to top. And we say, Humatanam, Huktanam, Havarashtanam, with good thought, word, and deed. We come down on this earth, we do our dealings, and once our journey is fulfilled, once our purpose in life is achieved, we then kind of go back into the spiritual world and kind of traces the journey of the soul. And that is the little significance that the way I understand it. And then finally, all the various items that you see on the right-hand side of your screen all signify the famous 7 creations and the 7 Amesha Spentas as mentioned in Zarathustra's philosophy, in Zarathustra's Gathas. And they are all on the screen. So when you now sit for a Jashan ceremony, think about the positive mentality you want to obtain in your life. Think about using your good mind when you see the milk of the cattle. Think about truth and righteousness when you see the fire. Think about strength when you see all the metallic items. Think about loving and being devoted to righteous tasks when you see the earth. Think about wholeness and perfection when you see the water. And finally, staying on this path, you will achieve immortality, not of the physical body, but of the goodness that you will leave behind for generations to come. So that is the kind of concept of the divine Amesha Spentas, and they are, of course, alluded to in the Gathas and kind of expanded on by lay priests who've come later on. And they were, of course, personified as angels, because it always sounds cooler when you say, oh, the Sarosh Yazad will come with a club and plunder my enemies. That sounds better to humans than saying your conscience will help you, keep you on the right path. So in a way, we personify some of these qualities into spiritual entities. And while they may exist in the metaphysical realm of our life, it's the practical significance which will help us in our mortal life, in our day-to-day life. So I hope you've all enjoyed this little presentation. And like I always conclude, it is only by understanding the meanings of our prayers will we save our philosophy of our prophet Zarathustra and stop it from just being a gallery in the British Museum? So I urge and hope and pray that we understand it, choose it, live it, and keep it forever. So thank you, Bahuma, for this goal that you have been accomplishing. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Arvat Sahib Jimmy Madon, for a detailed and appreciation-based, comprehensive, thank you, Mummy, explanation. We have many teachers on the call today, and my head bows to all of you for what you all are doing around the world. Thank you, Jimmy Sahib. Thank you to your parents. Thank you to your brother and to Anahita ma'am for all you're doing for everyone. And a special thank you for making classes fun for all the children.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is a person who has soldiered on with a smile on his face and achieved a lot. Ashkan Khosrapur from France and Iran. This person is a freelance journalist and correspondent. Those who know a little bit about how difficult this will be will appreciate how much goes into doing this job. He's originally from Iran, but is presently based in Paris, in France. Ashkan Khosrapur is a 32-year-old Iranian Zoroastrian journalist who mainly has been working in the fields of science and technology, as well as in the Zoroastrian heritage in Iran. While in Iran, Ashkan Khosrapur has been cooperating with numerous media and nationwide organizations and international organizations, including Amordad, which is a well-known Zoroastrian media organization, the CHN, the Cultural and Heritage News Agency, Hum Shahri, the media group, one of the biggest media groups in Iran, and the Parsiana magazine in India, Parsi Khabar website, and also the Chehre-Nama, a quarterly magazine of the Californian Zoroastrian Center. Currently, he's studying the French language in Paris, in France, and is also cooperating with the media, including the BBC in Persian, the Euronews, and the Iran Wire Media Group. Ashkan Khosrapur is also selected as the Secretary General of the Zoroastrian Cultural Heritage Council, which is, in other words, the Zoroastrian Anjuman of France. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Zartushti welcome to this very special journalist who's involved in gathering and disseminating valuable information. This reminds me of the Yasnaha 30 point, I think it's the 19, which Zarathustra says, use the power of one's speech, one's ability to communicate for good. So thank you very much for all the good that you do.
I would like to thank you everybody for inviting me and for having me for the meeting, a very amazing meeting, and thank you Baba Meher and everybody for inviting me for the amazing webinar. Actually, since English is not my first language, I find it more easily to write what I'm going to say. In this way, it will be much easier to pronounce the words and much easier maybe for you to understand what I'm going to say. And I'm so sorry because I don't have too much information about the religious knowledge, but I'm trying to share my information, share what I have in mind with you with the lecture that I'm going to say. Actually, I do not pray regularly and every day, and expect the days when I was a child. It was unlikely that I pray 5 times a day. It may not even be easy for me, even now, to pronounce Avesta words correctly or to pray correctly. I'm not sure actually. But despite all this, there are some values in my heart that have influenced my life and possibly my work. I try to write the things that are right. This is my job actually. In our work, this means to share the information that are from based on correct sources. Is it a hard work? It doesn't everyone do this? I mean, does everyone share the information which is correct? Well, not really. The main challenge in my job is to share the information which is from a right base, from a right source, and it is not it is not wrong. In real world, being honest and going the right way is just as hard because sometimes you do not know what is right and you think you are going the right way, but it is not. It really is not the right way. Let me give you an example from my own work, from journalism. Have you heard anything about fake news or about misinformation and disinformation? In short, unrealistic news that seems real is how we define that. Here, people, I mean reporters, show you the information that in a way that they want you to see, but they are not real information. Unfortunately, these fake news spread very quickly, even faster than regular news, correct news. Sometimes reporters say that think that they are in the right way and they are doing their job in a right way, but this is not always the case. They might not understand what is the right position. So they say they share the fake news instead of right news. Sometimes reporters are not in the right side without knowing this. I mean, they don't know that they are spreading the white news, fake news. And maybe it is because they are not well trained, because they think that fake news is better. I mean they can get more money with it, or for any other reason. Like in real world, we do not we tell lies in a way that we think that it is the solution, but it is not. I do not know if you have heard anything about a fact check or not. Simply, it means that know what is right and show the same to the audience. I mean, over the years, and news agencies around the world have also developed a series of fact-checking systems. I mean, this is their job, to monitor their own or other news and to make sure that the right news is published. And I want to say that this is the thing that we need to understand from the message of Zoroaster. And I think what Zoroastrian beliefs teach us about daily prayers, it is not about daily prayers. For me, it is telling the facts and trying to be honest to the others. Like as a journalist, I have been trying to tell the correct information, which is super hard. and which is a hard thing to do, but I have tried to do it as much as I can. And it is, for me, it is more important than praying correctly or pronouncing some words correctly. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashkan Khosrapur, for that pointed message that links what I mentioned earlier in the 31.19 with the concept of listening and then meditating upon it before deciding, and then links it to the 30.2, which is a Sauta Geuscha, where we are asked to listen with our good ears, so that we can decide for ourselves. And then this links to the concept of spenta menu and angre menu, when Zarathustra says the twin spirits. So you have linked all these concepts in such a simple, clear way to what we should be doing. And as Erva Jimmy Sahib also said, the concept of Sarosh comes from the root word, as Erva Sahib Ramiyar Karanjia has taught me, to listen, through. So give you gratitude for that. And we will now go to our last speaker for the day. That is before our audience becomes the speaker and shares with us their experience. So our final speaker for the day is Mr. Firoz Pestonji. Mr. Firoz Pestonji is from Australia, which means at this time, it is not today, it is tomorrow, because it's just past midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, this dedicated Zarathushtri I'm about to introduce is the founder and managing director of the Aussie Perth Tours, as well as the founding trustee and the president of BAVAS, which is the Business Association of Western Australia Zoroastrians in Perth. With the theme of Together Towards Tomorrow, he also served as the chair of the 2018 11th World Zoroastrian Congress in Australia, which provided an excellent opportunity for the local Australian Zoroastrians to welcome the community members from around the world, with the goal to form a digital networking platform to unite our global Zoroastrian associations. Firoz Pestonji completed his mechanical engineering study in 1980 with a gold medal. He was born in Valsad and raised and educated in Jhansi in India. He started a company called Mazda Enterprises, specializing in forklift trucks and machine innovation and Indianization of foreign machines. In 1980, he started his career as the junior engineer for Godrej and Boyce. In 1992, Firoz, if I may call you Firoz, Mr. Pestonji migrated to Australia, exported technology to India, Pakistan, Dubai, etc., and dabbled in imports to Australia, brought in plastic-made pencils, kitchenware, etc. Then he decided to go back to engineering and went to work in Newman, one of the world's largest iron ore mines. He then joined the taxi industry for fun and stayed in that business for 5 years, built up a small fleet and moved to buses and coaches, and eventually started his own company, the Aussie Perth Tours, the Aussie Pub Crawls, the Aussie Destination Tours, etc., all operating since 1998. He gives credit to his wife Maruk and children for their immense support on his journey to career and development. In 1997, Firoz initiated and started the Zoroastrian Association of Western Australia, ZAVA, with other leaders, with the purpose of bringing the local Zoroastrians together and to form their own community center. He also started the Zawa Chronicle, the local newsletter, with 2 other leaders. Firoz was elected to be president of the Federation of Indian Communities in Western Australia from 1999 to 2003, vice president of the Australian Indian Chamber of Commerce, and founding member, and drafted the constitution for small charter vehicle associations of Western Australia in 2002. He served as the president of ZAWA from 2000 to 2003. And during this term, he introduced innovative and fun activities for youth, for women, for entrepreneurs, and others in the community. He also was instrumental in starting the World Zartoshti Chamber of Commerce Perth chapter in 2005. The theme of the WZCC is integrity with industriousness, very common to the principles of the Gathas. Being a man with immense business acumen and entrepreneurial spirit, in 2012, Firoz founded the Business Association of Western Australian Zoroastrians, popularly known as BAWAS, which he still serves on as the founding trustee and president. He also serves as the chair of the 2018 11th World Zoroastrian Congress in Perth, Australia, which aimed at promoting entrepreneurship as well as the youth and women empowerment. It is important to note that this was the first adult Zoroastrian Congress in the Southern Hemisphere. Bravo, Firoz. And with that pioneering spirit, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Zartoshti welcome to this outshining veteran Zartoshti leader from Australia, our very own Firoz Pestonji. And as you would have heard in the biography crafted so beautifully by Mr. Meher Amalsad, there are principles of Asho Zarathustra's Gathas and the essence of the prayers in all these actions, as long as they are done in the spirit of the Zartoshti Dana. So in all actions, we see Asho Zarathustra. Over to you, Mr. Pestonji.
Hi, can you hear me? Thank you. I'd say at the onset, thank you very much to Karishma, Meher, and the team for giving me an opportunity, and it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to be
Firoz,
talking on this. Yeah,
1 minute. There is a second system connected.
yeah, I think
There's an echo.
yeah,
We'll
that's
have
right.
to
That's
let that go, please.
That's right. That's gone. Is it
Thank
clear
you.
now? Not
Yes,
a problem.
thank you
Sorry
very
about that. So as I was saying, it's an absolute honor and a privilege to be in the same panel today as our learned heroes like Ramiyar Karanjia ji, our hero Jimmy Madon, and of course Ashkan Khosrapur. I've learned so much today just listening to these guys. It's absolutely wonderful. And I must say thank you very much to them for imparting us with this sort of knowledge, which normally you would take years to get an idea of. When I was asked to talk about these things, Meher had given me a very clear option to keep it simple and I would say stupid, but we won't say that. We'll call it simple and super simple. So just to clarify, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a priest, but I'm a simple student, and my yearning is for wisdom and a little bit of learning. So I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. My simple belief is that no man is an island. And unless you don't have a teamwork with you, you probably cannot reach the heights that you normally would attain for. And if you want to leave a footprint in the sands of time, you have to take people along with you together and move forward. And as you rightly said in my little biography, that I do hail from Jhansi, and we have very, very fond memories of that town where I did my engineering, I did my NCC, I did my scouting. And those things really prepared me. And every experience in life prepares you for the future. So when when we were awarded the Congress, which I'll come to later on, and you realize that all these years you have been in the learning as if you have been a student, and you have been getting prepared for something to go on the global stage. So every little bit helps. What I'll try to do is try to keep it simple and as super as possible, as Mayor said. What I would like to say is that let us analyze why we are born on this planet. Mainly the idea is to fulfill the soul's achievement or duty or whatever it is there, but more so to serve Ahura Mazda's creations, to serve humanity, and to make sure that all his creation, whether they be floral or fauna or animals and humans or the natural things that are there, we do not defile them. So sadly, what happens is that from what little I've learned in my life is that all of us are born good. But on the way, we collect a little bit of dust here and there. And how do you get rid of the dust is what gives you towards Frashokereti and what you call in Hindu and Christian world is nirvana. How do you do that? from my little understanding, it is basically by attaining knowledge, by taking on every experience as a good learning experience. I have done that by reading a lot of things, like from things on spirituality to reading the Gita and to the Quran and the Mahabharata, and of course our own religious scriptures and the Shahnama. And you always pick up something small from everything that you read and learn. I also observe a lot of people, especially my peers and people who are learned and highly qualified, and you pick up things from them and you think, my God, this is something which would have taken me 10 years to have learned, which by listening to, say, like how our Ramiyar ji said things today, which he would have taken years to understand and learn, which he imparts to us in seconds and minutes. So with the modern world of technology, so much can be granted and move forward. The other thing that I always presume is that if you study biographies of greater people, it inspires you. You study history and you take it as a mental and a physical upliftment. And doing things a little bit differently, doing things a little bit with more passion will give you top results. So that is one of the things that I personally believe in. And of course, good words, actions which emanate from those good thoughts always makes a big, big difference. Also, we know, sadly, but there are a lot of people who are highly knowledgeable and they have a lot of wisdom. But if they do not put it on action, if they do not do things to impart it to other people, that almost always becomes a zero. And we see it all around. We see people who have got great ideas, but they don't leave a footprint on the sands of time for others to follow, which is a sad thing, sadly. Even in my engineering days in Godrej and Boyce, where I was for almost 12 years, we had a great team of our workmen. And the basic reason for our success in the maintenance department then, where we achieved a lot of new things, a lot of innovative things, which nobody had cared or sort of been able to do in the past, was because we trusted the workmen. We gave them full liberty. Because I also believe very strongly that it's better to delegate than to be dictating to people and telling them what to do. So as you said earlier, we started the Zoroastrian Association in Perth in 1997, and afterward we started the Business Association as well. There were a lot of innovative things that we did. In 2015, at the first Udwara Utsav, we were offered the opportunity to hold the Congress in Western Australia, Perth, which, as you earlier said, was for the first time in the Southern Hemisphere. So we tried to make it a little bit different. We had some great ideas with the team that was working along. A lot of people who were there in the team before the Congress was awarded sort of left us as well, sadly. But that's not the big issue. One of the first main important things we did for the Congress was, when I was before the pre-Congress, we were talking to a lot of people, especially the general people. Especially we talked to people who had organized previous Congresses in the past, like people like Dorab Mistry in ZTFE, Mayor Besania in Dubai, and Ketayun Kapadia, Homi Gandhi, our own Arzan Wadia, and a lot of other people. And we asked them, we asked the local people, what would you like to see if you were organizing the Congress? And what would you like to see if you were attending the Congress? So that as a team effort, right from the ground up to the people across who were paying money to come, we wanted to give them a fun time. We wanted to make sure that they go back with good memories. And people, luckily, and with the basic idea of our team, still remember that. That is a good part. One of the first things we did, one of the things we very importantly feel proud about doing in the Congress was that we had the only women's Master of Ceremony team. So we are very lucky to have people like Zareen Commissariat, Afringan Mystery, and our own daughter Farzana Kambata and Ferita. So it was a total first term where no males were allowed to do the MC work, and they did a fantastic job. They did a fantastic job, which people still remember. We had a lot of initial issues with the local people and all that, but every opportunity which becomes, which people see as a opposition, I look at it as a chance to excel and see opportunities to improve things for everybody. So luckily, by God's grace, whenever there is, as they say, one door closes, another two open for us. And when there were people who were opposing the Congress and the movements in Perth, sadly, we had a lot of good people who joined us. So people who had never had any contacts with me, like people like my good friend Kaizad Sunawala from Houston. He was in Perth at that time and he still is. He came in and helped us a lot. There was Kekashru Mazdai Yasni from Tehran. Never met the guy before in Perth, but these two guys came out and helped us like nothing. No idea how they gave us all their best. I had the lucky privilege of having two Mayars, Irwad Mayar Kerawala, who spoke to you all earlier, and of course my good friend Mayar Wellington, who was the ex-president of AZA in Sydney. Fantastic people who were there for the nitty-gritty and helped us in anything. There were a lot of other people who worked in the team. So and there was a lot of people who said this is only a one-man show. But to run a Congress of that stature, which is for the first time, and the funniest thing is that people never realize is that apart from myself, none of the people who were involved with the team had ever attended a Congress. And the funniest thing is that I had gone for the 10th Congress in Bombay on the panel, and the next Congress I was asked to chair, luckily. So that was all very, very, I mean, it was absolutely enlightening. And above all, I cannot go without saying that a lot of work was done for our daughter Farzana Kambata and my wife Maruk, who were there all the time. So basically, the Congress was a very woman-centric, business-oriented, and youth-centric Congress. So we tried to keep it away from any controversies and issues which really lead to people having arguments and discussions and all that. There were quite a few innovative things we did over there. Probably also one of the lowest budget for the Congress was with us. We did not get much funding locally or from a lot of the people that we hope for. Of course, the Hong Kong trustees helped us a lot, and a lot of people from Bombay did it. So that was very good. So with very restrictive finances, we sort of scooped it up as much as we could do. Every day in life, one learns and one has to keep on moving forward. So from the past organizations and things like that, we learned with the Congress, the basic result was that the speakers were wonderful. They stuck to the times, and there was no argument, no fights, no ill feeling, and that was a basic achievement. Not an easy task to carry on forward with. So we pitched in with all our strength. We did it with passion. And I think we raised a new height and made the global community be aware of the Zoroastrians in Australia. Because pre the Congress, the concept was that, oh, we are trusting these guys from Australia to take on the Congress, which was right, because we had never been on the global front from Australia. We never had any global any achievement that were done so far. So that was the biggest problem. So, but it all went out very well. So these are small things which I think that when you have a big team, a good team of people, and you're doing it for the community, automatically the good Lord will open up doors for you which you would not even expect to have achieved in the past. I would at this stage absolutely be amiss if I do not express my gratitude to a lot of people who were absolutely instrumental in the success of the Congress, like people like Neville Shroff, the president of Global Working Group, the people from ZTFE, the people from Fizana, our own Arzan, Ketayun Kapadia, Homi Gandhi, all these guys, Roshan and Rohinton Rivitna, Nader Godrej from Godrej and Boyce, Rustam Engineer from Houston, and Beram Pastakia, very, very, very helpful people who guided us, because you got to remember that apart from me, people had not even attended the Congress. So to take up things like what are the subjects we want to choose, what are the things we want people to talk about, absolutely blanked out. We have some guidelines, but that was only a certain level that we could go on to. Apart from that, remember there are wonderful teams that are working today in the global Zoroastrian community, right from Fizana and ZTFE, and you have groups in Mumbai and Australia and everywhere else working along for the community is good. So there are other people in the Indian community where I'm involved with also, which is like the Western Australian Federation, where we do a lot of things for the youth, the women, domestic violence, bereavement services and all that stuff, which is again a huge team effort of about 65 different Indian associations of different backgrounds who all work together, and that working togetherness leads to success, which is absolutely unprecedented in the past. So we have to move forward, and I personally believe that if you need to move forward, one must always look at the past, learn from it, and move forward. As they say, if you have to shoot an arrow further, then you got to pull the string as far as possible, and then that arrow will go much more further. Maybe we'll learn something from Arash, the great archer from Iran of the past. If you have the passion, we need to follow it. You got to go give it a full shot, and otherwise I would suggest don't do it. The little lesson for the people in the youth, as Mayor said, talk something to the youth about what you do. But main thing is if you create networks, whether it is in business, whether it is contacts for relationships, whether it's for friends, believe me, they will always come in handy some way or the other, because one can learn from people anywhere, anywhere we're going to go. And our Congress motto was together towards tomorrow, which is where we're going to spend the rest of our days. So that's what we were trying to do, keep things apart. I would just say a little thing right now, that today the global Zoroastrian community has got maybe, as I always say, too many chiefs and too few Indians. There are too many generals and too few soldiers. We need a lot of people with hands-on to do the work and keep the community still going on. There are sadly a lot of people with big differences, big egos, but we need to be tolerant of each other, maybe try and understand where they're coming from, but keep the community unity, and the good things will come out. Because if we do not do that, we might be scattered and so divided that anybody will trample over us, and which is what we do not want. The forefathers have done a lot of hard work. The people in the community have done a lot of good things globally. And it is no mean task to keep it going at every point that we can see of. So in the end, I would like to say thank you all very much to the team of Meher and Karishma and everybody. And I love to have people just observe and learn and listen and move on forward. So we pray that we all join up globally and together we all move towards tomorrow. Thank you very, very much, all of you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pestonji. I'm really grateful to you that you've explained things to us in a way that we can relate to.
Thank you.
As we now reflect upon our four speakers, it is also time to pick up a little thought from each one and to weave it together in a fabric. Mr. Firoz Pestonji mentioned something beautiful about working with your teams. It's a common theme in the Gathas, in the Bahukshatra and the Spentomad Gatha. Asho Zarathustra gives us this knowledge of trusting people in order to bring out the best from them, together with leading them in the now, Nuchit. And Ramiyar Sahib has often talked about the concept of bringing happiness to people with light and joy. So as we reflect upon Asho Zarathustra's message in the Gathas, let us reflect on the very first, because he starts from the first and like any good speaker has created a theme with several mini themes that tie together, so that with good thoughts, we can take good action, build a fellowship. As Mr. Firoz Pestonji, the words Mr. Firoz Pestonji used talks about both progressing together and the Irima issue. Rafedra is Anto, Nerebiascha, Nairebiascha, Zarathustra. Come together, let us all come together to go forward. So let us now see how we can do that as we reflect upon this and hear the first verse of the Gathas.
Ostano zasto Rafedrayao Manius mazdao porvim Spentayao Ashao Vispen Shona Wangiush Kratum manango ya Snevishage uscha urvane ayaya sa nemanga.
Before we move on, I give gratitude to all those who have helped us share the message of Asho Zarathustra, all the news agencies around the world, the Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Worldwide Zoroastrians, our team, Mr. Meher Amal Saad, my mentor and the kind facilitator of this program, Mr. Yazdi Tantra, who hosts us and looks after all the technology. Most respected Mobed Sahib Meheraban Firuzgari, our guiding light, Beheshti Mobed Soli P. Dastur, our guiding friend, Mr. Noshir Dadrawala for his support, Ervad Kobad Zarolia, who has been a great support, Ervad Brigadier Behram Pantiki as an advisor, Mr. Arzan Sam Wadia, Mr. Petrus Bevaina, Dr. Miki Mehta and Miss Nina Mistry for their kindness. Our young fellowship ambassadors from around the world, Ervad Yazad Unwala, Ervad Jehan Kotwal, Ervad Xerxes Bhandara, Tinaz Karbhari, Benaz Nanavati, Dinaz Tavadia, Mazareen Katrak, and Leah Contractor. from around the world. Our next section will see you again. Before we take our questions, I just want to say that on the Sunday, the 3rd of October is our next session. We'll see you with your friends and family. Please invite people. A very important theme that has come out today is a concept that Ashok Zarathustra brought out also in Yasnaha 29.11 to help us now, he says, for complete progress. And he says, Mazda frakshenene mazoi magai. So he says, please help me to help us grow now for complete progress. As Ervad Sahib Ramiyar explained the movement of the flowers, as Ervad Jimmy Madon has explained, that it took me back several years to 1981 when I attended the prayers with N.D. Minocheramji explaining to a 5-year-old or 6-year-old child how the movement of the flowers helps us understand the link between the physical and the spiritual world. Because I was attending the prayers for my late grandfather. And he took the time to explain. So naman to all our teachers today, the other teachers on the call today, their family, their teachers, and very importantly, all the ladies who support the teaching in the background. Havovi Mai, that is Havovi Ramiyar Karanjia. Fali Madan's, Mrs. Fali Madan, Anahita Fali Madan, Mrs. Khushru Madan we have other teachers, Nina McIntyre, we've got Firdosh Mehta, you and all your families. Since we are, some of us from India, happy Teachers' Day to all of you. With that, we shall open the question section. Please start putting up your hands, your digital hands, so we can start finding you as we go through the chat. I'll start from the top. Kudos to Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia, says Mr. Suraliwala. We also have, very importantly, Ervad Mobed Sahib Zarir Bhandara and Mobed Xerxes Bhandara. As a team, they have together in the last, from the time of Muqtad onwards, hundreds of hours of prayers they have shared around the world. Thank you very much, both of you, for all that you've done, and the association, the ZAC association that makes that possible. Selfless and unconditional service. Manik Bhujwala Sahib Mobadyar has raised a hand. Do you have a specific question, sir? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak. I enjoyed all the lectures by the different speakers. I like the advice of Jimmy Madon, Edward Jimmy Madon, about having some kind of a slide showing the meanings of the prayers, as the Afringan is being done. That would create a better understanding among the general public. Also about Mr. Khosropour, about fact-checking. We live in a society with many sources of news. Many times these are paid reporters. And so I also mentioned that I had written an article in Fezana Journal about how we can fact-check our rules and traditions of our religion by comparing them against the principles in the Gathas of Zarathustra. And of course, I enjoyed the Congress that Mr. Firoz Pestonji had organized in Australia, where I gave a talk on Mobadyars, as well as giving an award to the representatives of the Kurdistan government on behalf of the WZO. And my question today is about what time in history were the Afringans composed, because they do have some Pazand and some Avesta. So does anyone know about what time, what century were the Afringans composed?
Anybody who would like to address this question in terms of history of the Afringans and when they were composed? I'd be very happy for our teachers to comment.
Yeah, Karishma, can I take it up?
Yes, please, Sahib. Ervad Sahib.
Bhujwala Sahib, Afringans, as you must have seen, are a compilation of several prayers, Pazan as well as Avastan. And the Avastan prayers are part of the Yasna. Whereas the Pazan prayers, like the Divache, the Afrin, they were composed during the Sasanian times by Dastur Adarbat Marespar. So the Afringan that we recite today is a version of from the Sasanian times, having Pazan as well as Avestan parts in it. And Avestan parts are very ancient, but the Pazan parts are more recent. So like even our Kasti prayer, for example, our Kasti prayer, if you see in the Kemna Mazda, we have Gathas and Vandida. Then the Aura Mazda Khoda is Pazan. And Jasame Avange Mazda is from the Yasna. So they were compiled during the Sasanian times by taking up this scriptures text from different sources. But because of the existence of the Pazan text, we know that the final compilation was made during the 5th, 6th century in the Sasanian times.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erva Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia. Our next comment is from Ervat Sahib Zarir Bandara. Excellent. Zarir Sahib, are you there? Would you like to come in at anything? He says, excellent explanation of our rituals, connection with good thoughts, words and deeds, and progressing forwards. Thank you, Ervad Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia Sahib. Nazneen, Daisy Pavri, Sam Bilimoria, Maruk Tamboli. Maruk Tamboli, they've all had positive comments. We've had over 101 people here today. We had touched 102. So Maruk Tamboli, if you could raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question. She says, the souls and Frashokereti mentioned in the Afringan and the Farokshi, do they belong to the departed or the live?
You want me to take it up?
Yes, please, Sahib.
Yeah, Afringan and Farokshi are prayers recited for Anushe Ravan. So whenever we recite an Afringan or a Farokshi, the souls mention Nam Chesti Anushe Ravan Ravan. There the word Anushe Ravan means immortal soul, means the souls who have passed away. So over there in Afringan and Farokshi, we are remembering the souls and the Frashokeretis of departed ones. But when we are doing a Khushalinu Jashan, we take the name of Jinde Ravan, our own names, the names of our family members. So there we say Nam Chesti Zinde Ravan. Zinde Ravan means here we remember the soul of a living person. So depending on what ritual it is, we remember the soul of the those who are departed as well as the living one. But Afringan and Farokshi are exclusively for departed.
Thank you for that.
Jimmy wants to say something.
Jimmy, Haji, Ervat Sahib Jimmy Madan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just like to add a couple of things, which is I think some people generally ask. Some people generally ask me what is the difference between the living participants' names being recited as Ramiyar Karanjia mentioned, and also the Farmaishne and the Tandarusti. And I just when the living participants are mentioned as Farmaishne, it means whose farmaish or whose wish is it for the prayers to be performed. So because the priest prays on behalf of a family or behalf of people, technically giving the priest ashwadad or some token amount, the priest recites saying that in the dibache, in the declaration, in the notice, he kind of says that these living participants, I'm praying on their behalf and it is their wish for this prayer to be performed. And then, of course, the Tandarusti names that we recite at the end of the Jashan in the Pazan version of the Tandarusti are again just for the health and well-being of all the living participants of your near and dear ones. But like Ramiyar Karanjia said, the actual people we praise in the Afrinagan and the Farokshi and the people we revere and worship in the Frashokereti, there's a long list of people who we remember, many mythological, many people who we believe to have existed in the past. They were all obviously departed souls and we pray for their Frashokeretis. So the prayer is technically dedicated to all the people who've passed away, but there are some places where we mention the living participants who we want to pray for their health and well-being for.
Thank you very much to both of you for that detailed explanation. And from my understanding, as I'm sure some of the other teachers may also like to come, and please feel free to do so, the good works of those who have gone from this earth in terms of their physical form, I think both of you have actually highlighted that. Their good works live on. And then we take it upon ourselves to build that further so that we can build the good of everyone. So thank you for your talks. Thank you for the explanation. And thank you to our other two speakers who have shown how these good works can build upon the past and grow for the future. In the next question, we have Geeta Baramipur. I know Geeta is here, and I know Geeta likes to ask her own questions. We'll take Firdosh Mehta till then. Firdosh, thank you for being our teacher around the world. Please go ahead.
I'm just going to, hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, good day, wherever you're from. I just want to re-emphasize the concept that I have followed for many, many years in my Sunday school children's classes, that yes, people can give our prayers the value of the vibration or the value of the effect of what we come from our inner feelings. But to me, ultimately, even for a 10-year-old child or a 15-year-old child, the way we teach them our prayers is just this recitation without really understanding the detailed meanings. And without meanings, it is difficult for a young mind to know what they are doing and why they are doing it. And most importantly, they keep asking their parents, why should I be doing it? So what I have developed during the course of events is I have come up with a complete English recital of the Kushti prayer. Complete. Even all the gestures of making the loops and snapping the kasti, etc., etc. And the children pray the kasti in English, never with the intention of replacing Avesta. Ultimately, Avesta is important, and I do want them to do that every day in Avesta. But while they are doing it in Avesta, I want them to even understand what they're doing. And believe you me, after I've been doing it for years, I can tell you 100% that it creates a lot more emphasis in a child's mind to want to do it. Then they do not have to worry about questioning their parents. Why do you want me to do this? I don't know what I'm doing. Or why I'm wasting my time. All of those things kind of disappear when the child is now sort of belonging to the commitment and the concept of what they are praying and why they are praying. So this business of doing things in translation that was brought up today, I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, Mr. Firdosh Mehta. It brings me to a very interesting idea. Well, I don't understand how a car works, but when I have to drive the car, I do have to make sure at least the tires work and there is oil and there is water and there is fuel. So I don't understand how the car works. I don't know all the nitty-gritty details of the car, but I do have to understand how to drive it at least. So we all do our best to do the best we can. But I also value the fact, and I'm just going to put in a small comment here, that like we say in the Ardibesh, yes, matra, the vibrations, the prayers, and the attunement through the matra vani, I find, and I suppose some others also find, very, very helpful. So I'm just taking this opportunity to share that my belief is vibrations and the meanings. So please, if anybody wants to comment on anything, feel free to do so. Oh, we've got a comment here. Yes, Mami, what?
The energy that comes out of the prayers.
The energy that comes out of the prayers.
With the vibration.
With the vibration. So meanings, vibrations, I suppose everything is important. Geeta, I'll read out your question. It says, can you tell us about your experience in a prayer? The highest thought is always that thought which contains joy. The clearest words are those words that hold the truth. Thank you. I learned that from you, Geeta. There are so many experiences with prayers. I'm going to first ask the audience. We'll sort of swap to the Vahuman section where we are sharing. Please go ahead. There's Geeta. Geeta, if you want to ask anything further, otherwise I think we have a hand raised from Firdosh Mehta.
Sorry, I have a technical issue today, but no, you said it perfectly. Thank you. I'll just go on mute and listen. Thank you.
Firdosh Sahib, please go ahead. Firdosh Mehta, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So continuing with that same concept, I do understand and I know the value and the meaning of the vibration effect. I'm not talking about just the physical sound vibration. I'm also talking about the inner feeling of the heart vibration. So it's the same word being used, but with a different depth. But I also strongly feel, I don't know how right or wrong I am, but my vibration, my feeling, my deep understanding of the prayer to me can actually be better if I understand the meaning.
Yeah.
So meaning actually enhances the concept of vibration. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Mr. Firdosh Mehta. Lucky are the students who are taught by him. Thank you. Mr. Barda, Minu Barda, Gita, we've done. Minu Barda, if you'd like to come on, thanks to the organizers. Educative talk. Now we could pay better attention and understand our prayers. Mr. Sam Bilimoria, great resource base. Thanks for sharing, Ervad Madon. Thank you. Mr. Zalka Sinath, likewise. Blessing the whole family. Dolly Dastur, excellent explanation, Ervad Jimmy Madan. Firoza Dasawala, this is about the flower ritual and the 8 flowers. If you'd like to ask your own question, raise your hand, otherwise I'll do it for you. I never knew it. Thanks to both Mobbets for imparting this. So grateful. Firoza Punawala, Mr. Sam Bilimoria, yes, please go ahead, sir. Thank you for your interesting, informative session that you hosted on the Cyrus cylinder a couple of days ago. Helped us give gratitude. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, my name is Sam Bilimoria, and during the course of this presentation, probably there are 2 questions that have come to mind. One is for Ervad Sahib Madon, and he mentioned something about, our soul gathering dust. So what lifetime in our chronology does the soul gather dust when an infant is born? What is that transition? When does that transition take place?
I think the soul gathering dust was something that Firoz Sahib mentioned, but I think I don't remember mentioning the actual gathering of dust, but I just explained the flower ritual where the soul comes down from the spiritual world into the material world and kind of finishing its purpose in life and then going back to the spiritual world. But I think would Firoz Sahib want to pitch in terms of or could you maybe specify when I mentioned soul gathering dust?
Okay, now, yeah, you're testing my memory right now.
I'll come in over here if I may, Mr. Bilimoria.
Yes.
As I understood it, you beautifully explained how the importance of the prayers, and it refers to also what Mr. Firdosh Mehta said, when we have the understanding and the feeling inside of us, it removes almost like the dust that we gather in everyday world. For example, I'll just give an example from what I understood. If somebody treats us badly, it's like a little dust that comes on us, and we kind of may harbor a feeling of lack of self-worth or lack of self-esteem. But when we go to our prayers, it gives us inspiration on how to deal with this. And by understanding, by praying with belief, we can clean ourselves off, dust ourselves off, and we feel all a kind of Frashokereti of a small everyday way. We feel new again.
Also, may I?
Of course.
Also, when we mix with people, as children, we are very, very pure. But as we grow up, we mix with a lot of people from different ages who spoil us. They inflict a lot of insults on us. They also teach us a lot of wrong things. by their own behavior, with their own malicious ways and things like that. This is all collecting dust.
Ervat Sahib, over to you. And I suppose we also say, when we pray the Atashnyas, we actually ask this. We say, Ushmoy Uzarishva Aura, which is Ushmoy Uzarish is to make me pure, but also Uzarish is the good, righteous path. I'll bring Ervat Ramiyar Sahib into this afterwards. But first, Ervat Sahib, Jimmy Madon, you continue.
No, I think I got the context of what your question was. I'm so sorry, I didn't quite get it, but they're absolutely correct. So in my personal life, I've always felt that prayers through, just like Jaro Auntie said, when we continue on the path and when we start to go into our teens, when I changed my country, I came into a completely different way of life in England from India. And during all those times, I think I felt that knowing the basic understanding of the meanings of our Kasti prayers, like one of our attendees today mentioned, was something that kind of guided me, saying that, okay, you might not always take the right decision. You might, because we are all humans and we are all not perfect, but sometimes my decisions have been influenced by a prayer meaning that I constantly recite every day. So in a way, I do prevent myself from gathering more dust and also clean out a little bit while I pray. Thank you.
Thank you, Ervat.
Thank you, Ervat Sahib. That was a very good explanation. I also enjoyed your presentation as well. It was very, very lucid and very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a second question, Karishma, if you would allow me.
Before we go to your second question, may I please bring Ervat Sahib, Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia, in on this, on the cleaning of our minds?
See, in our life, Karishma, as we said, today's theme was Frashokereti, to move ahead. And that applies for our mind and the soul also. So we get inputs from everywhere around, but it is up to us what we accept. So, and then if by chance or by mistake, if we have taken some wrong inputs, then what we have to atone for it. Whether it's for the mind or for the soul, the patet, the idea of patet, that is atoning for doing something wrong knowingly or unknowingly. So in this life, we are all bound to do these things, all of us. And so one does not have to worry much about it as long as the intentions are good and clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that explanation. Gives us hope that we can renew ourselves every moment.
Yes.
Mr. Bilimore, over to you, sir. Please go with ahead.
Yes, it was. I'm sorry. Yes, it was about the second question, which I guess it was for Mr. Firoz Mehta. And then he was talking about vibrations. And what is your understanding of the difference between the vibrations that manifest in Avesta and the vibrations that are manifested in the Pajan prayers? And does that have any kind of a hierarchy in terms of divinity as far as Avesta and Pajan is concerned?
Okay, so for that, so is your question addressed to somebody specific?
Yeah, that was for Mr. Firoz Mehta because he was talking about the vibrations in the prayers. Yes.
Mr. Firoz Mehta, may I bring you in on this if you'd like to address it?
Sure. My answer is very simple. I brought in this understanding of vibration just to give it a level of importance based on understanding our prayers. I wasn't trying to categorize vibrations in this era or this time or that time or this language or that language. The whole issue of vibration is very complex. And if one wants to study, that'll be almost a lifetime study right there. Because to me, the concept of just as a simple vibration like the energy of sound, I think that is beyond that. And since lots of our scripture based on poetic license, even in the gathas, etc., where we are so much allegorical understandings, that is very difficult to define anything from a universal perspective when it has. Just now, we talked about the dust on the soul. Why can't it be just an allegorical reference to bad influences that happen to the soul in its life, which was explained very well by both the Mobbits. So you see, it is difficult to say whether it is this or that, because I don't think there is any particular time. Because if you go to the vibration and the concept of mantra or mantran, we can go all the way back to the Vedic times.
Thank you, Mr.
Which is
Chairman.
4,000 to 5,000 years ago.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bilimoria. On this
Thank
note, while we have raised this, I think it is very, very important, as Dr. Ramiyar Sahib is the speaker for the day, Dr. Ramiyar Karanjia Sahib, that I ask this question to him, when he wants and if he wants, to highlight the importance of the Matravani to us, because it is our guidance that all these types of healing take place by in so many different ways. We say Asho Beshasyo, Dato Beshasyo, Kareto Beshasyo. We're giving reference and respect to all the different parts and parcels of our world that help us to progress. So Ramiyar Sahib, I'd like you to finish this discussion on Matravani before we move on to anything else.
Well, Karishma, we had already discussed about Matravani in our last thing.
So shall we just refer people back to the last time's
Yes,
recording?
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ervat Sahib Ramiyar. We'll take the next question, which is it's a comment by Rashida ji. She says, Rashida Todiwala is all the way from Malaysia, by the way. So you can imagine the time of day over there as well. She says, one of the best webinars put forward by the Bahumata team, and she thanks us. We'll take a comment from Zareen Commissariat. She's same thing. She says, every month Bahumata offers superb webinars. Then Manik Bujwala talked about the Congress. Maruk Tamboli, hard to mention all the names. These congresses are really important. So I thank Mr. Firoz Pestonji for highlighting the work done by all the congresses and the people who go into arranging it. Zari Suraliwala says, Mr. Firoz Pestonji, it is your great caliber to be a captain who gets involved at the lowest level. That is real dynamism, great mindset. May Lord Aura Mazda keep you ever young. Okay. He's not old yet. 11th Birth World Congress was fantastic, says Farzana. Thank you, Farzana. Excellent session. I suggest people start reading the comments. There are many wonderful comments for the speakers today. Rustam Engineer, thanks to the excellent speakers. Rustam Engineer is also a great organizer. Roshni, is it possible to get a copy of the seminar's recording? Yes, the recordings are available on zoroastrians.net/category/Bahumata. I will request Jimmy Saib, are you still here? However, Ramiyar Karanjia may need to leave.
Yes, I am there.
I think Jimmy Saib, you there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Please, will you finish today's session with a hambandagi to close? Ramiyar Saib is still here actually. 1 second.
Yeah, but please let Jimmy do it today.
Thank you. Jimmy Saib, please will you complete our hambandagi? And our gratitude to Ramiyar Sahib for being with us this long. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to have extended your session.
Shnotra re mazdao shim vahum vahishte mastin ushta stin ushta mai yatashain vahishtain yashem yathahum veryo athairatu shashachin hachain Mangeush dasda maningo shyotananai mangeush mazdain Shatrim cha ahurai ayim dare gupyo dadarvastarim. Yathahu veryam atharato shashachin hachaim. Vangevush dasda maningo shyotananai vangevush mazdai. Shatrim cha ahurayayim dare gupyom dadar vastarim. Ashim vahum vahishte mastim ushtastim ushtamai yatashai vahishtai ashim. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. Thank you to Mr. Meher Amalsa. Thank you to the whole team. And thank you to Mr. Yazdi Tatra. I'm sorry, Ramiyar Sahib, you've stayed with us this long despite being in discomfort yourself. Thank you. To all of us, may we all continue to spread the knowledge that we've achieved today from our Ervat Sahibs, from our speakers to the rest of the world, and spread this beauty of Frashokereti and work towards it. Yazdi, please would you close the session?